Welcome everybody to the podcast, Mahogany Thoughts. This is the 11th episode. Today is November the 14th. Rainy in St. Louis, and we got a special guest today. We got a very experienced, polished brother, man, who's well connected in the St. Louis area and beyond, Marcus Creighton. But before we bring it on board, we got the co-host, one of the co-hosts, Terrence Butler. Mr. Butler, what's going on?
Oh, not too much, man. Just glad to be what the old folks say. Glad to be in the land of the living. One more time.
Man, every week is almost like every week above ground is a blessing, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
we was just talking before we recorded these cases. I mean, it's almost inevitable people's going to probably catch it, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things and stuff, man. Hey, we got to
I got it right now. Just so you know, full disclosure, I'm on house arrest. They got me quarantined because I tested positive this week. So,
Wow.
but I feel good. Thank God I'm one of the lucky ones, knock on wood. But, I got to sit here until next week. So,
When's the next time you got to get tested, though?
I'm good. They said Wednesday.
Okay. And when, I guess just for the audience, or for those who probably never had a test or anything like that, did you have any, I mean, if you feel like disclosing, did you have any symptoms or anything like that? Or did you get tested out of curiosity, or what led you to
So just like now, it sounds like I got, sinuses. St. Louis has been bad all year. I've been sneezing like crazy. But last weekend, I kept sneezing more than normal. And then I would get, stopped up. On Monday, and see, I got all kind of crap. Monday, I had oral surgery. And so after that, I just felt kind of queasy. And so Tuesday, I'm like, you know what? I'm sneezing way too much. Let me just go get checked out. And so I finally went in and I went to Mercy, rapid test, 10 minutes results, and they don't try to reach your brain. And they said you're positive. So it was just a precautionary thing for me. Under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't even gone because, like I said, allergies are always bad for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, it was just that my spider sense was tingling. So,
well, I'm glad to know that you're okay, though, man. All things considering and stuff, because myself personally, I lost family members, I lost friends, so.
yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it's the world that we live in and stuff, man. And, praying, man, that you recover quickly and get back to doing what you're doing and stuff. Because I know that you're a very active brother in the community, and you're just active with your family and everything as well too. So I know for me personally and stuff, I hate being stuck in a house during a snowstorm after 3 days. So I mean, I know quarantine's driving you up the wall, fam.
Yeah, I had to go out and do the leaves yesterday. I said I can't sit here.
See, to do something.
I gotta do something.
So this week, so I'm trying to think of something that went on the past week, because every week we always think of something that goes on. I see that number 45 still doesn't want to let it go, but I mean, the writing's already on the wall. But I mean, for people who are getting frustrated, whatever the case may be, just know that this dude is all about that money. And so by the end of the day, he's just hanging on so he can get whatever deal that he needs to get, or speaking engagements, television shows, and then once that's happening, he'll probably concede. So for people who are getting in their feelings about what he's saying, whatever, man, hey, it's going to be a thing in the past real soon. But just recognize that this dude has a lot of influence. So whether he's president or not, you're not going to get rid of Donald Trump. So, I mean, that's a fact. So I guess that's basically about it for me. I've been super busy bouncing around with different projects and whatnot. Butler, what's been going on in your life in the past week?
Just normal stuff, man. Trying to adjust still trying to adjust to this new normal.
Yeah.
They shutting down sports, so we're trying to find I got a daughter who's a senior, plays basketball, so we're trying to find alternate ways to get her some exposure for scholarships and whatnot. I took her up to Millikan University to go check that out because they're interested in looking at her. So we just playing the waiting game and whatnot.
Yeah, my son, he's bowling. He's in 8th grade and he bowls in the Saturday league. They're still bowling, and I would say about 80% of them were wearing masks. But for myself, I'd sit in the table in a corner, or sit somewhere, or just even stand off in the cut. But by the end of the day, I expect them to kind of shut that down eventually. I know that they're moving from in person back to online as of yesterday, and I saw what's happening across the river. Butler and I, we stay in Illinois. And a lot of our stuff has already been shut down anyways for the better part. But it wasn't surprising. And to be honest, the hot spots for what they say today is mostly west, south, and outlying areas near St. Charles County. So, got to say it over and over again, everybody. I mean, yeah, it's possible that we all probably have came in contact with the coronavirus, but let us do our part in making sure that we're properly protected and make sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate against the spread of coronavirus.
No doubt. I'm tripping off all these the Million MAGA March today. It's like tens of thousands of people in DC right now protesting for Trump.
Yep.
Hey, what did Dave Chappelle say at the end of his little monologue and stuff? They doing that march. We've done Million Man marches a long time ago. And our grievances were held as a whisper. So, welcome to our world, MAGA world, because now you guys are in a minority.
Right.
They out there.
One network covering it, if you can guess which one that is.
Oh, you already know. You already know. So we're going to get into the podcast, and this week is a special week, and we try to, this is a startup podcast. So what we would like to do is to use this podcast as a platform to air our voices on a regular basis. So we bring a variety of different people with different backgrounds. And, like I said, just imagine you're going into a store, whether it's a grocery store or the mall, or you're at a gas station, you look at another brother and sister, and you don't know what they're doing currently, or you don't know their walk or where they're coming from. So I think it's really, vital to bring individuals who have a great background and experience and an extensive resume, but also to be able to highlight how they got to where they are. And, for those who are curious and to get into some of the positions where our guests are, or even ourselves, the host, we're more than open to share these experiences with you. So please share with your friends. We always try to make sure we add something, additional as far as how you get to that journey. And, we want to make sure not only for yourself, but even for your children, because we all are about trying to build a legacy and be able to share that legacy with others. So I think that we have a personal obligation once we get to a certain pinnacle of our success, that we find ways to give back to the community. I know that we do it in a variety of ways, from mentoring, serving on boards, or our different organizational affiliations, but it definitely makes a difference just to have these conversations. So we definitely want to make it an organic, like our prior guest, Mr. Brian Hurd, said, a barbershop conversation. And so thank you for joining us if you're live on Facebook as well as on Zoom as well. And thank you for listening to our podcast and our YouTube. If you want to learn more about our podcast, we are on Spotify under Mahogany Thoughts. Also, if you look on my website, www.drtduncan.com/podcast, you'll see all the podcasts from episode 1 up to this episode. YouTube videos are always posted within 24 hours, and the podcast audio always post within 3 days after the actual recording. We want to go ahead and bring in Mr. Marcus Creighton. And before we do that, I do have another quick little presentation I wanted to share, just to bring like a background, not necessarily of what he does, but about the industry that he's involved in himself. And then we're going to chop it up and go from there. So the title of this particular podcast is The Pathways to Wealth Generation Begins with Financial Literacy. Click. Challenges. There are challenges in Black businesses, Blacks in business. 4 CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies are Black, which is less than 1%. 37% of the S&P 500 companies did not have at least one Black board member. 37%. So just think about it. That's probably about a little bit under 150, if I'm doing the math right. The median income for the ages 25 to 34 years old, as of 2016, and if you look at a Black and a white comparison, with at least a bachelor's degree, Blacks earn $49,400, and whites earn on average $54,700. Without a bachelor's degree, Blacks earn $27,800 compared to $35,000 in whites. In 2018, the average income of Black businesses in the United States is $58,000. white businesses, as you know, they have more, and they actually have larger corporations. Their numbers is $546,000. $58,000. Just think about that. All the millions and millions of black businesses, the total average of black businesses is $58,000. Now, some of the numbers that you'll see in these presentations, it's more from a broader aspect. So we're not going to get into the methodology, because you can make an argument that a lot of black businesses could be created for the purposes of tax write-offs, or they just filed and registered, but they may not be logging much economic activity. However, the numbers still are $58,000. And even though it's not on this slide, the average median household income period is $62,000. I messed that up. Sorry about that. The financial snapshot. African Americans are more likely to be unbanked at 18.2%, meaning, what does unbanked mean? That means that they don't have a standard checking account, savings account, or any affiliation with the bank, such as U.S. Bank, First Bank, Regions, credit unions, or something of that nature. Stock ownership between blacks and whites. Me and Mr. Creighton was talking about this prior to the podcast, but we're looking at 36% of blacks that have stocks, and compared to 60% ownership of whites. The net worth of blacks are $17,150 compared to $171,000 for whites.
That's crazy.
Yeah, bananas.
Their average net worth is 171
compared to blacks is 17,150.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, and really, like I said, I know, Marcus, I know we're going to get back to that stock ownership, because that's an interesting debate, because I'm with you. I think the numbers are really lower, but the source came from the Brookings Institute, who does a lot of economic analysis. But again, I didn't get a chance to do the deep dive and see what the 36% entailed.
Right.
We always talk about generational wealth amongst the black community, and there's a lot of different paths, and we're not going to cover it on this podcast. We can't cover it in 5 podcasts, but the thing is, financial literacy is the foundation where you have to start to be able to get to your ending. And some of the key ways to get to generational wealth includes your spending and accountability. Know what you're spending your money on. What are your expenses going to? How are you tracking your expenses? Are you spending 15% of your take-home pay on eating out, or are you spending 50% on your mortgage or your rent? Asset ownership. Those who are millionaires, they have some form of assets, and the definition of asset is more than just a house, but it's actually cash, liquid assets, which are cash, stocks, or cash, CDs, savings account, money market deposits. And then also you have mutual funds, you have homes, but it's an asset. So if most millionaires, I would say maybe venture 90% or more of millionaires have at least some form of asset ownership. Investing and saving. Investing and saving is actually one of the other major keys to get to generational wealth. It doesn't matter where you get your information from. It doesn't matter what YouTube videos you may see. It doesn't matter if you hear from this podcast or the next person who thinks they can make $1 million off a stock market. And these are the basic principles to get to generational wealth. You have to have a foundation. Don't have a foundation, your path to generational wealth is going to be way much more difficult. For those who are interested in financial advisors, and this is just one slide I do before every intro, is that I want to be able to show for those who are looking for a career path currently at their particular point in life, or something to help guide their children to do in college or beyond, is to be able to provide a snapshot as to how does somebody get to point A to point B. The path to generational wealth by being a financial advisor includes having at least a bachelor's degree in a general business related field. So it could be anywhere from, economics, marketing, finance, general business administration. That's usually anything that's usually in that general domain. That's usually the foundation to start that process. You have a bunch of financial coaches and so-called financial experts. We actually have a financial expert on this podcast. It's a blessing to be able to have that. But those who are financial advisors, they have to get their experience from somewhere. Those individuals, including myself, who try to espouse some financial advice, I will give you the superficial advice, but most of these financial coaches, or those who profess to be financial coaches, they're going from a lot of risks, whereas financial advisors can evaluate the risk, the pros and cons, and be able to explain that to you. So having experience definitely makes a big deal. You have to become certified in the desired area of expertise. You can be a financial advisor without some certification, but for you to really build your client base, or to really make significant movement within your particular career field, you have to a certification is desirable. Professional development. Just like most other professions, you're going to have additional education. So once you get your college degree, remember, your college degree provides access to information, but you're still responsible for accumulating education well beyond your graduation. Financial advisors can own their business or work as an agent, and their median salary, according to BLS.gov, is $87,850. They have a high income potential. So just keep in mind, median is the average for all documented financial advisors in their profession. That's the average salary. Financial advisors can make significantly amount more, and that's just something to consider if you're looking for your pathway for financial wealth. To project a 10-year growth, I like putting that there to say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a career change. I don't know what fields to look at. Financial advisors is a growing field, and I expect it, especially nowadays with the investment of all these free platforms, that you'll see more job growth in this field. 30%, as of 2014, there's a projected 30% growth over the next 10 years with an estimated 250,000 jobs. Marcus, I know you're in the industry. I think you would like to venture that number may be higher by the time we get to 2024, as far as the job growth projections. One thing that Marcus and I actually was a little bit surprised about, but not too surprised. We know it's less than 5% of financial planners are Black. I think the numbers are lower. And again, it comes down to where you're getting the data and the methodology. I'm thinking it's more about 1 to 2%, but 5% is still not high for Black placement. To formally bring in our next guest, Mr. Marcus Creighton. He is the Vice President of Wealth Protection Advisors. He qualified for the $1 Million Roundtable, which is the top 1% in the world qualifies. So again, we're not just bringing somebody that's just talking just to talk. We actually brought in an expert. He's the owner and the president of Supreme Powersports LLC, which is Marcus, what is it again? Used cars lot, correct?
Pre-owned used, yep.
Pre-owned used, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got that correct. He is also was hired by the Society of Financial Education and Professional Development, which was part of President Obama's Advisory Council members on financial literacy. He conducts financial literacy workshop at HBCUs, and he has served on several boards, numerous boards. Some of them include St. Louis Children's Hospital, the Urban League of Greater St. Louis, the Urban League Young Professionals, the National Sales Network, the March of Dimes, and others. And he is also the past president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the alumni and college chapters. And without further ado, we'd like to formally introduce Mr. Marcus Creighton. About to stop the share. And your thoughts on the presentation.
Good information. But of course, everything has to be in a context. So, I mean, where do you want to begin?
The mic's all yours, brother. We want to hear your knowledge and wisdom.
All right. Well, real quick, while I'm here, I did not go to college to be in the financial services industry. I like most young brothers, I wanted to play football and run track. So I found myself at Arkansas State, and eventually you got to figure out, do I want to be in school forever or do I want to graduate? So after changing majors 7 times, yes, I changed majors 7 times. I could not see myself doing anything for 40 years straight and being happy with that. So I kept looking for what was going to pique my curiosity and hold my interest. So I graduated with a marketing degree because I wasn't limited. I can do advertising, I can do promotions, I can do sales, I can do so many things with that. So upon graduating from college, like a lot of us do, I became a decent money earner. You get a decent job, but what do? Once you start making the money, you eat it, you drink it, you drive it, you wear it. So as fast as the paychecks come in, they go right back out. And so I remember I was working one time, and one of my coworkers, who I know I probably doubled or tripled his income, he had this little online investment account. And I don't know if you remember back in like 99, 2000, when analog cell phones went digital. These used to be the big fat flip phones and all that kind of crazy stuff. And he bought a stock from a company called Qualcomm, which makes the digital chip for the phones. To this day, Qualcomm is one of the bigger tech companies out there. But this guy had a couple $100,000 sitting in some stocks. And I'm like, what in the world is this dude doing? And see, in our community, in the Black community, we do not grow up having conversations about money sitting at the dinner table. It just is not a staple in our community. And so I had to figure out, what is this dude doing that I'm not doing? He's investing. What are stocks? What is all that mess? And the more I learned, the more I realized, man, I can help people with this information. And so I started my career in 2001. And so what is this? 19 years in the financial services industry. And all those things you're reading off, it just means I've been able to help a few people. To me, it made no sense to get in this industry and learn. But why am I here? I'm here for me. I needed this information for me personally. I needed to know how to invest. I needed to know how to save. And one thing is, I got on the inside. By me working in the industry, I can look around and see what are other communities doing that we're not doing. And it's almost night and day. They're doing everything that we're not doing. You know, we earn $1.3 trillion a year, Black Americans. If we were our own country, we'd be the 15th richest country in the whole world. So I don't want to hear about we need companies to invest in the community and do this and that. No, we don't. We have enough to invest in ourselves. See, what if we save 1% of that $1.3 trillion? That's 1 penny out of every dollar we make. What if we saved it? That's 13 billion a year we can put back into the community. Wow. Now, what if we get really good and every time we bring in a dollar, we save a dime? That's over 100 billion a year we can put back into our own community. So the first thing that we talked about, going back with your slides, what we have to do when looking at financial literacy is our very first thing is we have to look at our habits. You know, we know, especially me, I know a lot of people who do well. They make good money, but they have more money in their shoe closet than they do in their 401k.
Oh yeah.
That's not a good thing. I know people that do very well, nice 6-figure incomes, and they're always telling me, I don't know anything about that investment stuff. But how much time are you focused on learning about the investment stuff versus how much time do you know what Cardi B is doing out here in these streets? So first thing is habits. What are our habits? We have to stop being spenders and we have to start being savers and investors. The second thing is, what are your goals? All the things that we talked about, stocks, bonds, banking, investing, if you don't have any goals to do anything, why would you do any of that stuff? See, you know, it's old saying, one of the movies, I always say, you know, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So in order for you to get to where you want to go, what are you willing to sacrifice and give up, and how hard are you willing to work? See, when you tell people they can't go shopping this month or next 6 months because they got to save in order to buy that house, they don't want to hear that. That. How can I get it without doing all that stuff? You know, it's funny. People come into my office. All right, I got $25. How can I get 18 million in the next 3 days? You know, it's kind of an exaggeration, but that's the thought process. It doesn't work like that. There aren't really a lot of shortcuts out here. No, I don't want to bring in 2 more friends to bring in $1,000 so you can give me $10,000. Bro, I can go on and on and on. We spend all this time doing mess when we spend no time doing the basic things. And as an advisor, I have clients that spend, you know, they make millions of dollars, but you know what? They're broke. That lifestyle requires them to spend all of their money. But then I can go to Macy's where I got a guy that sells suits. He probably makes $40,000, $50,000 a year, but he's got about 1.4 million in his 401k because his habits were, as soon as I get $1, I'm going to save 10 or 20%. So what are our habits? Can we stop being spenders and start being savers and investors? 2, what are our goals? What do we want to do? You need short-term goals, you need medium-term goals, and then you need long-term goals. What is a long-term goal? Retirement. See, who's the first person you bump into at Walmart?
Reader.
When you walk in the door, it's an 800-year-old dude waving at you as you walk in and saying hello. And again, exaggeration, but it's a person who, and I've talked to some of these people before. My business is people. I'm in the people business. And, you know, I chit chat with them, and you find out that a lot of these people work for 40 years and they retired, but they had to go get a part-time job just to make ends meet. And see, that's not what my vision of the golden years is. When I have clients come in, they tell me they want to travel the world and see family and do all this stuff. And my question is, does your current plan allow you to do any of that? And then I get silent, because your life is going to be done one of two ways. And this is everybody. It's either going to be done by design or by default. You know, we can sit down and map out exactly what we want our lives to look like and put together a strategic plan to get there. Or we just going to go like that hamster in the thing. We're just going to keep working, get that paycheck every 2 weeks. And hopefully it's enough. You know, we throw spaghetti on the wall and we want to see what sticks. But that's not a real plan. So if you fail to plan, you will plan to fail long term. So the other thing is implementation. After you sit out and figure out what are my actual habits, I have to change my habits. I have to stop spending. I have to start saving. And then if I put some goals down on a piece of paper and say, you know what, I want to buy a first home, or I want to get an investment property, or I want to get an investment portfolio. You have to start setting some goals, and then comes the implementation. What are we using to get towards those goals? You know, do I just put my money in a bank account or under a mattress? That's passive investing. I can guarantee you right now, if I ask 10 people how much the CDs at their bank are paying, 9 of them can't tell me, because we don't pay attention to things that are around us. You don't know what the certificates of deposit are paying. You don't know what your money market accounts are paying, but they're probably going to be around 1%. So if you use a bank's credit card, let's just pick a bank, any bank, they're going to charge you 20, 30% interest, right? But if they loan me their money, they charge me 20 to 30. But if I give them my money, they might pay me 1. Anybody see a problem with that? So that's one of the first places that people need to take inventory of, as well as banking. Credit. You have to look at credit. We are a community that needs to build and establish and reestablish our credit. Credit is big on purchasing power. You know, it allows you to buy big things without having the money up front. And man, look, I was the guy in college that applied for 50 credit cards my freshman year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
I went to Freaknik on a credit card, 1995, baby.
We ain't even gonna get into Freaknik. You taking me back, but the answer was yes. See, here's my problem. I got the first one. And if you remember back then, Nintendo #1, Tecmo Bowl, are you kidding me?
Oh, for sure.
I slapped this plastic on the counter and you're giving me these video games? Bro, I was done. I went across campus and grabbed every credit card application I can find. I stacked them up all nice and neat, had my pens ready. I sent in about 50 credit cards. But guess what? I got none. No one told me when you apply for credit, you destroy your credit.
Yep.
So I destroyed mine all at once. Now, 6 months after graduation, I was able to turn my worst credit report into perfect credit. And yes, I can show people how to do that. So one of the things is people need to take a look. Get your credit report. Go to annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. Not the commercials you see with the jingles. Annualcreditreport.com gives you all 3 full credit reports free. We're entitled to 1 report every 12 months. If you apply for credit and you're denied, you get another one within 60 days of you being denied. So first thing is, we need to take a look at a credit report. Make sure the information on there is accurate. If it's not, you're entitled to dispute it. Anything that you dispute, they have to respond within 30 days, okay? Any information that's on there, you pick up the phone, you call the credit card company, and you make them what's called an offer in compromise. I will offer to take care of this debt in exchange for, and let them know what you want. Get it in writing, and whatever they agree to, stick to it. All right, so that's one of the first areas in our community we have to do better. When I travel to HBCUs and I do these workshops, it's a shame that I have 18-year-olds come up to me after the workshops telling me they already had to file for bankruptcy because mom and them put some utilities in their name when they were 3.
Hey, how long you been doing an HBCU tour?
2009. So what is this?
So this man has a lot of experience, y'all. So he's not just speaking to speak.
I'll probably do workshops for about 7,000 to 8,000 students a year. And I can have anywhere from 50 to 1,500 students in a room. You know, I go to Alabama A&M or Alabama State, they got 1,000 students in there. So,
Nice.
but it's good because they need this valuable information. What else? Shoot.
Well, before we get into that, because I always like to jot down notes and stuff, and you had some really great points. So let's go back to the spending habits and millionaire habits, because I think a lot of people fall into that trap. I know that I did. I don't know about y'all too. I know I did. But, they say the more money that you make, the more they take. But that's part of the truth in the taxes. But the fact that, if you've ever read The Millionaire Next Door, they talked about lawyers bringing in 300 racks and they're spending 299 of them racks, not $299, but their net by the time it's all said and done for the year is $1,000. So,
so just earlier, is the more they make, the more they spend. Right?
Absolutely. And so for those who probably making $30,000-$40,000, there's nothing to be ashamed with that. But let's go back to what Mr. Creighton has said earlier about the Walmart greeter, whatever the case may be and stuff. I mean, if you want to save and invest in your money, whether you're making $40,000, $50,000, or $60,000, you still have an opportunity to become a millionaire. So spending habits, let's talk about that real quick. What do you recommend as far as like identifying, poor spending habits to make the adjustments on top of the credit? Because I think that one of the biggest challenges that when people come talk to me is about finances. It's like they want to make $25 to make it 2.7 by Saturday. And I tell them that you got to save. So understanding how to save is a challenge a lot in the Black community based on the slides, but our spending habits definitely need to be addressed. So what are some of your recommendations for identifying spending habits and just regardless of the income that you bring in?
First thing that people need to do is they need to write down needs versus wants. Is it something that I have to have, or is it something that I just want for some strange reason? The other thing is you've heard the phrase before, pay yourself first. What that means is we need to treat ourselves like a bill collector. Every month when you got your list of bills that need to be paid, you got your money coming in, you need to put your name on that list of debtors, but you need to put your name up top. You need to be the first bill collector that you pay. And you need to save enough to where it hurts financially and then save a little more. Mm-hmm. So make a habit. I don't know what people can do. I don't care if it's $10 or 10% or 20%, but again, they have to get a look at what they have, because a lot of people right now probably don't budget. So you want to take a look at your internal snapshot. People all the time, I need cash flow. No, you don't. We all have it. It flows in, it flows right out. We need cash stick. When it gets here, it has to stay. One way to do that is make sure you pay yourself first. And if that's $25 putting it in a mutual fund this month, or if it's $10 under your mattress, again, that's a start. So right now, it's funny because people say, well, I can't afford to save because I got all these bills. And if that's the way you think, you will never get ahead. What wealthy people do is they take their money to make more money. What people that don't have a lot of money do is they take that money to pay bills. And we never get out of that cycle. So first thing, figure out where money's coming from, where it's going. Is it a need versus a want? And make sure that you put a little bit down for yourself and start paying yourself first. Now, the where, that implementation part I talked about, we could just do that later. But right now, we got to get into that habit of every time I get $1, 2 dimes go to myself.
You talked about planning. Or actually, Butler, you want to ask a question based on what he said before we?
I do have a question for you. I'm also in life insurance as myself. I noticed you were as well. Tell me what's a good way to, I would say, get people to start being more future-minded versus present-minded, because I see a lot of people, they're only focused on tomorrow, paying the next month. What's one of your strategies to get people to actually look more into the future as far as where their planning goes? Because I find a lot of people that I talk to, they just have a poverty mindset. And how do you kind of kind of chip away at that poverty mindset, getting them to see themselves being on a wealth path?
Man, there's so many different ways, but again, the question is back to the goal. What is their goal?
Right.
We when you prospect and dig and ask the questions, people will tell you all about them if we let them, but we have to do that through getting them to see their future. And that's one of the questions that I ask. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? How are you going to get there? If you continue to do what you're going to do, please explain to me how you're going to get there. Let them fill in the gaps, fill in the blanks. But the key is, what are their goals? And then you show them how they can accomplish those goals through a process. Now, we could talk about insurance as well, because that's one of the most valuable tools that our community has no idea on how to use. On any level, we're probably the most underinsured community out there. And that was one of the things that I learned when I got involved, is in the white community, all they cared about was what's going to my kids and my next generation. Our community, I got ladies that argue with me. I got $5,000 in life insurance. And I'm like, lady, a funeral's $7,000. You're going to have an arm sticking out the dirt because there wasn't enough money to bury you deep enough. That's not enough. So the question is, if you don't make it home tomorrow, is anybody affected financially? And if they say yes, my next question is, do you care? If they say no, they don't care, our conversation is done right there. But if they say they do care, then we have something that we can talk about. But you got to find out, do they care? We don't care. So instead of me trying to argue with somebody like that who doesn't care or doesn't want to do it, another saying that I use, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So what do you have to do? You got to find a thirsty horse. You got to find people that really want to do better, because there are enough of them out here. I mean, when it comes to our industry and looking for clients and stuff like that, it's enough out here. We just got to stop fighting with the hard-headed ones that don't want to drink from that water, and let me go find a thirsty horse who just doesn't know where the water is. I can show them it's right here. Gotcha. And then we can have that conversation. But again, I can get you to focus on you. If it's your goal that you put on paper, I can dangle that goal out here as the carrot stick and say, remember what we're working for. These aren't my goals. These are your goals. Remember what the carrot, this is what we're working on. So this month, did you save what you told me you were going to save last month? And then I hold them accountable. You know, we got work to do here. And it's not just me working one side. It's a big boulder. We're pushing up this hill. If both of us push on the same side, we can get it. But if I'm on one side and you're on the other and we're pushing towards each other, it's never going to move.
No, that's very, very solid. Yeah, very solid and stuff, because I used to work in the long-term care industry before I got into college instruction. And man, it's like every time you turn around, I would have these conversations with some of the staff and ask them, you know, do you got life insurance? You know, it's like, well, I want to be like you, or you know, or not saying like you, but so, you know, it must be nice. Not everybody can do this and that. And it's like, hey, look, I'm just like you with the credit cards, man. Look, my credit was nasty. You know, I thought 590 was the thing. You know, I was like, I'll be happy to get to 620. But, you know, by the end of the day, I tell them just like the same thing you do, is that, you know, if you care about your family and your future, and you don't want people to have fish plates and, you know, cash apping your money, and you're struggling to get things together, I mean, you got to protect your interests, you know, because the key thing is, you know, you can't talk about generational wealth if you don't take care of the foundation. And, you know, like Mr. Creighton has said, you have to have goals and you have to have a plan, because, you know, my path to generational wealth and the plans that I have for my children and the children's children, which are my goals, I understand that it is a long game. So like I said, you know, we're going to, you know what, let's talk about that blessed circle action. You know what I mean? So those good, you know, because it's funny, because if it's not that, it's going to be something else. It's going to be the Ooga Booga donation card or something like that. I mean, it's always a quick game, a quick hustle. And when people come ask me about it, they get pretty salty. Like, you know, why aren't you doing it? So because there's no return of value. It's actually illegal. Most of them are illegal. And on top of that too, if somebody walks away with your money, you ain't calling the peoples. And if you tell the peoples you was participating in the ring, they're going to throw you in the box too. So let's talk about these get rich quick schemes and why they don't benefit, you know, the people who actually are doing it, and, you know, and just also understanding the true risk of what we're doing. because like I said, I've actually had about 7 to 10 people literally call me from different parts of the country asking me if I was going to participate. And I said, I'd rather take my 1,100, 1,200 and throw it in an Apple stock or throw it into a mutual fund or whatever and see that return come back later. Because I mean, yeah, I would like to have, I mean, we would like to have $10,000 just to throw away one time and stuff. But if you really have the mindset to say that, let me get 11 back so I can spend it on, I don't know, just cars or something that depreciates, whatever the case may be, then what was the point of doing it in the first place? What are your thoughts, bro?
I can speak on that a little bit. I think it doesn't matter if more money gets thrown at you, like Marcus was saying, if your habits are piss poor. If your spending habits are piss poor, it doesn't matter if you get more money thrown at you because it's going out the window, and you're gonna be in the same situation you were with just some more liabilities laying around, and you really haven't gained anything. So I think the danger in that is people looking at it as a way out of something, especially if you have bad spending habits. If you were somebody that says, okay, I tried, and you actually had a specific plan on what you were going to do with the money. I'm going to invest it here, do this, pay off some debt. And it's just like going to Vegas. You're going to put some money down. You might hit, you might not. But I don't think it's something that you could bank on changing your financial future on. And I think it's when people got upset, those that might have lost money and they came out upset because they might have put some money they really needed down and end up getting burned, and then they end up falling out with people, and then it's just all bad.
Yep, they were banking on it. I'm gonna put this $1,000 today, and I'm gonna get 11 grand in like 2-3 days. No, right. First of all, I'm a licensed SEC FINRA advisor. It is illegal. There's no way to spin it. They try to say, oh, well, it's considered a gift and all. It is illegal. Here's how the law works. You cannot exchange cash without a good or service in return, period. You can't just give around cash. It has to be a service or it has to be a good that I get in return for my cash. That's capitalism. Other than that, eventually you're going to run out of people. People ain't going to pay, et cetera, et cetera. And the people that do it, I'm like, look, if you can find somebody that's, I can't say dumb enough, but if you find somebody to give you 11 grand, take it. That's up to you. Oh, yeah. But I'm not that dude. And like you said, Apple stock, people don't want to wait. We got the microwave mentality. Back in the day when mom and them, big mom and them, grandparents used to cook, there were no microwaves. They had to cook the food, made the bread, made everything fresh. You had to wait. Now we got microwaves and people stand in front of those screaming, will you hurry up? So our mentality is we got to have it done yesterday. We got to have it now. So that is not, when I say set a goal, I don't mean that as your goal. I don't want you to say, well, my goal is to bring in 2 friends and I can have 10 grand by next week. That's not what I mean. Give a goal that you can actually work towards a plan to put in place so that you can achieve it. Go ahead.
So, and thank you for saying that. I did that intentionally because I do remember a past post that you had a long time ago, saying that, which was an official disclosure. So when people are asking me, not only did I confirm with you, but actually having a friend who actually used to do financial advising before he became an attorney. And he said, well, let me just tell you from a legal perspective, it said it is a violation of the tax code. And if you are moving money and talking about, well, there's no way the bank's going to tell, they can pull your bank records. The FBI, I used to work with the feds, and they can pull everything. If you don't think they can pull your text messages and stuff and WhatsApp and all that stuff and Snapchat, oh, they can find a way. Believe me, I've seen it. So, I agree with, what he's saying. And I'm glad that you put it out there, at least have that documented for the record. So when people say, well, why you can do this, why can't you do that and stuff, it's like, listen to an expert. If you don't want to listen to an expert,
something has to be exchanged in return for that money.
Absolutely. That's the way it works. If you're not listening to an expert, you're not really wanting to grow. So we want to also just get a brief expert opinion just for the novice and actually for people in the middle, intermediate ones who are starting to level up about planning and implementation. So you talked about that in your initial monologue, and just want to get a little bit of the insight about planning and implementation. So how do you, so let's just say that you identified your spending habits. Let's say that I'm spending too much on, you know, at the marquee, or I'm at spending too much at the cigar bar, whatever the case may be, and I want to take that money and I want to put that somewhere, what are the first steps that they have to do to get themselves out of that proverbial hole?
Again, so you need to set goals in 3 places. I told you need short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. So the first thing is identify, what is this money for? You got people that put money away for retirement. That's a long-term goal. When you put money away, don't want to see it, forget it exists until much later in life. But if there's a short-term goal, some people may say, I want to buy a house within the next 2 years. Under 2 years is what we consider a short-term goal. 2 to 10, midterm, over 10, long-term. So if I have a goal in the next couple of years, or I want to do some stuff, then you have to, there are different places to put the money. So there, and we can write these down. There are taxable investments, there are tax deferred investments, and there are tax-free investments. Everything you put your money in will fall under one of those 3 categories. Is it taxable? When I say taxable, that means you will pay taxes in the year you earn interest. If I put my money in a CD at a bank, if I put my money in a mutual fund direct account, I'm going to get a 1099 form at the end of the year. If I made $1, I got to put that $1 on my income taxes, and I have to pay taxes on that $1, okay? Tax deferred money is money that you invest, and all the interest it earns, the taxes are deferred until much later. IRA accounts, qualified accounts, 403Bs, 401Ks, simple IRAs, whatever you have, those are all tax deferred. You don't pay any taxes until you pull the money out in the future. And the last one is tax free, a Roth IRA, cash value life insurance. Those are things that you could put your money in, and under the right circumstances, got to say that, the withdrawals can be considered tax free. So whatever amount of money a person has, they can do a little homework. First of all, if you want a professional, get a financial advisor. One way to do that is to talk to friends. We always talk to friends, and people post all the time about recommendations. I want to know the best seafood place, the best steak restaurant, etc. The same thing works with your professionals. If you need an accountant, ask someone who has a good accountant who their accountant is. If you need a contractor for your house, ask around. Same thing works with financial advisors. Do you have one? Who is it? What do they do? What is their philosophy? What company are they with, etc. And one thing I'll say under that, here's the most important thing with the financial advisor. All of us work at some place. So if you were to fall down today and you got hurt, the hospital they take you to, it's fairly important. You know, you don't want to go to a Roach Motel hospital. You want a decent one, okay? But it's not the most important thing. The type of scalpel the surgeon uses on you, you couldn't care less. The flavor of anesthesia, the brand of anesthesia, doesn't matter at all. The most important thing to you when you get hurt is who's your doctor. The same thing works in the financial services industry. It doesn't matter what company they're with. Doesn't matter what mutual funds they have. They all got the same. You go to any bank, any financial institution, there are only so many. Everybody's got the same stuff. The most important thing to you at that point in time, who's your financial doctor? Who's handling your money? Are they calling you with ideas, or are they just sitting there waiting on you to call them whenever you got more money? You know, so you have to start doing a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, but the most important thing at that time is who's your financial doctor. Then you can start taking a look at very simple places. And again, I don't advise when we do Zooms, I only inform. Information. Mutual funds are a good place to start because they diversify your money immediately, professionally managed, very convenient, and they are liquid, which means I can have money go directly from my bank account to my funds. I can have money go from my funds right back to my bank account. I can find out information about my mutual funds online, on television, pick up the newspaper. A lot of times they might be in there. So good information, they're convenient. And the other one is professionally managed. When you own one mutual fund, you can own 150 to 200 stocks at one time. So instead of me going to buy Amazon stock, which is over $3,000 a share, Instead of me running out and buying Apple, which is over 100 a share, instead of me running out and buying a bunch of Facebook, which is over 2, Microsoft 2, instead of me going to buy a bunch of different ones, I can spend $40 on one mutual fund and I can own Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. The reason that's important, diversification. If I own 150 stocks at one time, if 4 or 5 aren't doing well, there's a good chance there are 4 or 5 that are doing well. So that's what diversification means. It balances out a person's ups and downs. And there are over 10,000 different mutual funds that you can buy sectors. I can look at healthcare. I can look at technology. I can look at natural resources. I can look at European stocks versus Japanese stocks. I can look at Hispanic versus USA. So there's all kind of different things out there. And again, what your goals are may determine where you put your money. If you're someone who's interested in big in tech, you got the latest phone, you got the latest watch, laptop, computer, you got all the latest stuff, tech might be your industry. If you're someone who maybe works in the healthcare industry and you see that there will always be a need for healthcare and the amount of money that gets spent in the healthcare industry is crazy, maybe I go look towards healthcare. So those are some places that you can start, and trust me, mutual funds, you can start some with as little as $25 a month. People think I need a lot of money to invest. No, you don't. We waste $25 on one coffee at the local shop down the street, okay? So what if we just drank 2 drinks less this week? Instead of when we go out kicking it, you know, people buying drinks, popping the bottles and doing all that. What if we just drank 1 or 2 less this week? That could add up to $100 a month easily, okay? 25 is all it takes to start investing. All you do after that 25, you realize, man, that wasn't bad. I could probably do 50. Now you got 50 going in every month. You get a nice little bump at your job, man, I could do 100. Before you know it, you do have a nice pot sitting there. And those hundreds turn into thousands and they turn into millions over long periods of time. But that's how you get active investments, where earlier I talked about passive. If you think of the wealthiest people you guys ever met, or can think of Bill Gates, Bezos, Oprah, all those folks, they have something that most of us don't. When they're at home sleep, their money is out making them money. That's what we need. We need that perpetual money machine that no matter where we are on this planet, wouldn't it be nice if we were out chilling on the lake somewhere on a boat, but we were all making money? That's how it works, whether you're working or not. You need to put your money in a position to where it makes you money. So start in some places like mutual funds. If you, oh, this is a big one. For those of you who have a job, take a look at your company sponsored plan, 401k, 403b. You'd be amazed at how many people I meet that don't even take the free money in their 401k.
You actually beat me to the punch. I think the numbers actually, I was going to ask you that question about doing it. I think it's 42% of Blacks, maybe lower, that maybe actively invest into their company sponsored retirement plans.
So at least take the minimum. If your company matches 3% of your income, put in 3% of your income. Take the free money. The sad part about it is they don't realize it doesn't affect your net pay, because that's pre-tax money coming out. So you get taxed after that. You got less money being taxed, so it's probably going to be a wash. But you now get another 3% being dumped in by the company, or whatever percentage it is. But at least take advantage of the free money.
Yeah, just to add to that too, for those who are still working and gainfully employed, you know, there's also it's not really a trick. It's actually something you can Google, but changing your withholdings. If you're saying that I need this extra $300 a month or whatever, you may not have to work a second job. If you're clocking in $6,000 refunds, you're probably cheating yourself almost $500 take home pay a month. You know, I mean, there might be that. And again, this is just informational. You need to talk to professionals and put my legal disclaimer on there. But there could be a possibility and stuff that by changing your withholdings to a certain percentage, maybe even exempt, you'll be able to take more of your money home. And maybe you don't have to work, 10, 15 hours overtime or pick up a second job, because the more money that you accumulate, and if you're not managing your taxes efficiently, as Mr. Creighton was talking about, as well as also investing, you're cheating yourself money. And one thing to also keep in mind too, the tax code is actually designed, it's more designed for businesses, to individuals and homes, but our family households. But the tax code is designed to incentivize you to invest into your future. So while we're living in a moment, like Mr. Creighton said about the shoes, or, you know, buying that bottle at the club or whatever the case may be, you know, that money that you could have saved by not buying that bottle or pre-gaming before you go to the club or whatever the case may be, will not only help you grow your money, but also lower your tax liability. So, I mean, this is what this podcast is about, is just to share just simple knowledge. I mean, we can get into the more in depth, and that will take a long time. But
Right.
we just want to have that conversation. So I definitely just wanted to echo your sentiments on that part.
And there's nothing wrong. Look, and it's funny because it's some friends of mine that's probably on here and they're going to laugh. Man, my friends call me cheap all the time.
Me too.
Cheap. And I crack up and laugh because in the back of my mind, I'm like, that is the best compliment you can give me. Because when there are things that I really want, I can afford it because I didn't waste money on the doo-doo, on the stuff that y'all out here doing. I'm not doing that. I'm the dude that'll drive by 3 gas stations to save 8 cents.
Me too.
It's just something in my personality, man. I just don't want to pay what you pay. Yep. I want a lower amount, you know? And it can be a fun thing that you can do with life. We've gone out to the restaurants, man. I get discounts on stuff all the time. You know why? Because I ask. How many people don't even ask? You know, we went to a Chinese food restaurant, 10 of us, and the dude brought the bill, and I looked at it and I gave it back to the guy. I said, "Where's my discount?" And he looked at me like, "Huh?" I said, "Man, go get the owner." He did it. He went and got the owner. The owner came up to the table before he could even move. I said, "Hey, how you doing? Remember me?" He don't know if he met me or not, but in front of 10 people, he's not going to say he didn't in case he did. So I said, "You don't remember last time we were here, you said if I brought 10 people, you give us a discount?" Man, he's knocked off 10%. He's like, "You bring 10 people again, I give you another discount." It's just a fun game to do out here. You don't give them attitude. You don't act mean. When it comes to food, I'm the nicest dude because if somebody else is touching my food, I'm going to be nice. You can take as long as you want to. Is it ready yet? If not, cool, I'm good.
Can I get more water?
I find ways to save money wherever I can. It's just, people don't realize companies make billions off of pennies.
Yep.
And that's what we need to start doing. Let's keep those pennies. You know, if I go from upstairs to downstairs, turn that light off or turn the TV off and save a couple pennies, you know? But you know what it is? Our favorite 2 words in our community are, it's only. It's only $5. It's only $10. And by the end of the month, it's onlyed ourselves to death. So start saving those it's onlys, figuring out ways to save cash. Even something as simple as going out shopping. Try to make sure you shop in the same area so you're not wasting gas bouncing all over town. Basic things.
You know, just to add to that as well, you know, I know that a lot of people are interested in creating their own business as a quote unquote path to financial wealth. But, you know, like I told somebody the other day, I had a sit down session with them and stuff. I said that if everybody created their own business, that means you have like 300 million individual businesses and no workers. At some point in time, somebody's going to work. So let's not knock the people who don't want to create a business. However, you can be a business. Your name, your brand, Marcus Creighton Enterprises, Marcus Creighton LTD, LLC, right. Terrence Butler, you know, it doesn't matter. We are all our own business people. And like you said, how companies make billions off of pennies, we can make millions off our own pennies. So don't feel like that you have to have, you know, 7 or 8 different degrees. And I'll say that, and I got 3. But, you know, I tell people don't walk my path because I already knew what my goals were. But you can, you know, if you're making $40,000, $50,000 a year, please make sure that you are able to save and then take your savings and then be able to invest as well. Because the money that you wind up saving definitely pays a long range, goes a long way, because you may realistically retire in your 50s instead of retiring in your 70s if you make these certain moves. We do have a question real quick from one of our guests, Mr. Stewart, RT Stewart. Let me get him off on mute. Go ahead, bro. I think I got you off there. Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
If Marcus, if you can elaborate, one thing that often happens, unfortunately, in the African American community, way too much that that I often hate to see, is when folks pass and GoFundMe is the method of trying to pay for final services. So can you elaborate for the audience a little bit about life insurance and the importance of it, and even the misconception that it costs a lot of money to have life insurance?
Yep. All right. And that's my gravy, man. I've done millions and millions and millions in insurance, a lot for business owners and people of high net worth. But again, why would somebody who's worth $8 million buy $5 million in life insurance? When you got people in our community that have nothing, that you got to argue with to buy 10,000 in life insurance. But I've done workshops at dozens of churches in the cities over my 19 years. And it's sad to see that in our community, in the city churches, a lot of people are looking at the churches to pay for their funerals. As RT said, you know, we've actually been to funerals to where they got the door shut and won't open it until a hat gets passed around in the hallway to collect more money for Uncle Willie. So people need to understand what life insurance is. See, when I say life insurance, immediately you think death, okay? That's only one of the uses. And it is not expensive to carry insurance. And before we get into the whole term, whole life and all that kind of stuff, the point, make sure it's enough. If a person is 20 years old, let's say a married couple, 25 years old, man and woman married, 25, they make 50 grand a year. If the goal is to work to traditional retirement age of 65, that's 40 years, right? At 50 grand a year, that's $2 million is the human life value to the other spouse. That's just to live the same crappy life we got right now. I'm not talking about moving to the French Riviera. We need $2 million just to maintain the life we got right now. Mm-hmm. But how many in our community are carrying $2 million policies? Nope. So you got to figure out, again, I asked the question earlier, is there anybody who would be affected if you didn't financially, if you didn't make it home tonight? And if the answer is yes, who are they? Kids, spouse, whatever. We got to make sure that we're carrying enough to take care of the basic stuff. Make sure the house gets paid, kids can get to college, bills are outstanding. And for the average person, 30, 35, you could probably get a $250,000 to $500,000 life insurance policy, term, of course, for under $20 a month, or somewhere around $20 to $30 a month. It is not that much. If you're paying $100 a month for a cell phone, but you're not even paying $20 or $30 a month for insurance, we got a problem.
You're preaching.
I'm gonna tell you right, yeah. If you're one of my clients and you come into my office, the first thing that I ask clients when they come in talking about markets, can you show me that $25 investment thing? I'm gonna ask first, show me your risk management portfolio. And they're like, huh? I need to see your foundation, because in the financial arena, it's not investments, it's the insurances. If something happens to you tonight, will you get paid next week? What's your disability at your job? Because how many people, right now, I think the number I last read was 50% of the people will have some type of disability under age 65. That could be a sporting injury, that could be a car accident, it could be something. And it doesn't have to be a permanent injury, but there will be some type of injury for 1 out of every 2 of us under age 65 that will cause us to miss time from work. So if that happens to you, are you still getting paid? So that's one of the things that I want to see. The second thing is I want to look at the life insurance. So make sure it's enough. It doesn't matter what it is, term, whole life, whatever, that's not the point. I need to make sure it's enough to pay basic stuff, the funeral, any kind of expenses, any kind of debts, any of that. And not only do you need to make sure you have enough, but you need to make sure your spouse has enough. You need to make sure that your parents have enough. How many of us in our community take care of our parents, grandparents? You need to get it when they're healthy, okay? Not when they're not healthy. My grandmother, who is now 98, I got her a policy at 84 years old. And she argued with me to death about getting that policy wasted. But I said, Grandma, you are healthy. You don't wait until you're unhealthy to get the policy. You get it while you're healthy. And so I made her do it. But the same thing, we need to make sure it's enough so we stop bankrupting our community, our churches. We need to stop the GoFundMes and all that stuff. Our lives are not supposed to make people's lives worse when we pass. They should make them better, okay? Nothing can replace the loss of a loved one, but instead of holding a handout, it'd be so much better to have that insurance company bring in a check, 250, 500,000. New York Life, who is not the company I work for, but I give respect where it's due. One of my buddies is ahead of the 50 billion initiative with New York Life Insurance. He wants enough African Americans in the community to carry a $250,000 policy to total $50 billion. Okay. I think he had 250 or something like 2,500. So yeah, that's one of his initiatives. But that's the kind of wealth and generational wealth that we should be doing in our community, okay? Now, besides the death part, people can then learn the advantages of having a whole life policy that does build cash value, that is a liquid asset, that I can use for other things. You just talked about business planning. I had a client years ago. He wanted to buy the building his business was in. He went to the bank. It was a $300,000 loan. The bank asked him, how are you going to guarantee the loan? He was like, we sat down and talked. I said, you get a life insurance policy, you make the bank the beneficiary. That way, if something happens to you, they know they're getting paid. Loan approved, okay? Wow. So that's one use of it. Another use is retirement income. What happens to the business owners, the lawyers, the architects, the accountants, all these people that are out here that are in their own business? They want to know, where else can I put money besides an IRA or 401k? The way that cash value policies work, we call it the rich man's Roth IRA. Qualified retirement plans are called that because they qualify for IRS rules. 59.5 before you can touch it, 70.5 you have to touch it. Money's 100% taxable in retirement, et cetera. There are all these rules that you have to follow with the IRS. But there's also something called non-qualified retirement planning. And guess what that means? Don't have to follow IRS rules. If you want to Google, for those listening, Google how to use life insurance as an asset. That's what you Google, how to use life insurance as an asset. You can learn more on how to do that. But here's what I'll show you. This pen right here, let's say it's about a 1/4 inch in size. So last year, Home Depot sold 1 million 1/4 inch drill bits, okay? That means 1 million people got in their car, drove to Home Depot, walked in, picked it up, took it up off the shelf, went, paid for it, and drove it back home. 1 million people did that for a 1/4 inch drill bit, but not one of them wanted a 1/4 inch drill bit. What did they want?
The drill?
Something fixed.
They wanted something else. I mean, like other things, like
what?
Yeah, like they might
need
a drill,
you.
or they might
get what I ask you.
Right. No, it's like I got thrown on the spot. Yeah, just I mean, they could get a drill, or they could get.
They wanted a 1/4 inch hole.
Yeah, 1/4 inch hole. Yeah.
But the drill bit's the tool to get you what you want, right?
Right.
People want tax-deferred growth of their money. They want tax-free income. They want protection for their families. Guess what life insurance is? It's the drill bit. But we don't know how to use it. So we need to spend a little bit more time learning about how to use the tools that we have available to us. And it will go a long way in the community as far as generational wealth. And unfortunately, I want to live a long life. I don't want anything to happen to me. But if something happens to me, my 2 daughters, they're set.
Absolutely.
And life insurance plays a part in that role. I went on a trip with some of the fellas, and I refused to get on the airplane until my policy was approved. And I ain't going.
That's
nope.
deep.
Yeah, dude, it's serious.
Yeah, but no, that makes sense.
Conversations we don't want to have because it involves us facing our own mortality.
Butler, why do you think that these people, I mean, because I know Butler's in life insurance, and I don't know if you want to add something real quick before we have Kim ask a question, but I mean, what do you think the fear is about, though? I mean, it's really interesting and stuff, because I know the 3 of us have life insurance, and actually I have, Butler actually has my life insurance plan, so my family's protected, and and I know that we talked about a lot of topics, but we should be checking on that every year, assessing where we are with our financial status and whatnot. But Butler, with you, as your primary specialty and stuff, I mean, anything you want to add or just,
Well, when you talked about what's the fear, I don't know if this is much of a fear. I think it's more a root of selfishness that people don't realize they have. I would say, especially as a man with a family, if you're not going to put that family in a position to where they're not going to miss a beat if you're gone. So not only are you saying, okay, and this is, I guess, is more for the conversation because most people, I will say, they at least say I have some at work, but they never examine, is that enough? And if you don't want to have all the debts paid off, college fund, have your income replaced for your family to make sure they're better off, I think there's a root of selfishness there that you probably don't even know exist. And I guess just like Marcus knows as well, as advisors, we come against all kind of objections that we daily have to overcome when people don't say that they want to get more. They'll make any kind of excuse that they can come up with as far as why they say that it's too expensive or we'll look at this later. And there's a lot of different reasons. But I just think it's just our duty. Because you don't want your spouse having to make decisions that they wouldn't have to have if the money wasn't there, or having them possibly have to work a second job, or your kids can't go to the school they used to go to, and different things like that. We're so self-absorbed with ourselves. We want to have this, we want to have that, and anything that steps in the way of us having the life we want to have, we're not always willing to sacrifice to do it. So I don't think it's fear. I think it's a poverty mindset rooted with a lack of self. There's so much psychology that goes on with that versus just the product. For example, if I told anybody I'm going to give you for free $1 million worth of life insurance, you'd have 100% participation. Because I don't think no one's going to say I don't want those things, but are they willing to sacrifice to have it? So that's the tug of war, trying to get to the point where they're willing to sacrifice to have their family in a better position than they were before.
I think those are solid points. And, like I said, it's really interesting because, like I said, with me, when I was actually in the field, running to a lot of brothers and sisters, different ages, different age groups, they wanted that instant, fast gratification. But it was just really interesting and stuff, like, well, do you even have life insurance? The answer is no. I said, well, at least they got employer-sponsored life insurance or whatever and stuff. I said, you just got to have that mindset. If you really want that tomorrow, like Marcus said at the very beginning, if you care about your family and their future, you should just take the small steps because dying is inevitable. Death in Texas, dying is inevitable.
Everybody.
And I have a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I would love to live to see, I'd love to be a great grandfather. My grandfather turned 90 today. I'm going to see him in a couple of hours. But, my dad passed at 61, and my dad had life insurance, which was a blessing for my mom. And my mom has life insurance and stuff. But my parents were in the middle of a major move. And what happened if my dad passed with no life insurance? And just even in the same situation, what happened if I go and, me and the wife are, got perished in a car accident or whatever the case may be, or a plane crash. And then what about my kids? So, we could talk about the wills and everything else, later on and stuff, but just think about that. Just picture it and stuff. We live in one of the most dangerous cities in the country. And if you want to make an argument about just difference between city and the county, the St. Louis Metro is 5th nationally. So we're 1 in the city of St. Louis and we're 5th nationally. That means that we're walking around on a death wish as it stands, and so we have to be realistic about that, and our professions as well. And, for those who working in healthcare and essential workers and stuff, they have to go to work. They got to bring an income, and hopefully we pray that they make it on the other side. But the reality is they might die. When my wife started working, or she has been working in nursing, but when she was about, when Corona first started, I never had a will. I'm gonna be honest. I'm 44 years old. Never had a will. We had everything else, but we kept, shucking on the will. But we got a will because I didn't know if we were going to make it, and we still don't know if we're going to make it on the other side. So you got to protect your family legacy. Yes, sir.
Real quick, And it doesn't matter if you're not married or don't have kids. I hear that all the time from people. Well, I ain't married, I don't have any kids, I don't need life insurance. Here's the way it works. If I had a $500,000 policy and I'm single, no kids, and I passed away, as you just said, everybody will die. So, seeing as though we know that, why wouldn't you set a $500,000 inside of a trust and create a scholarship for some kids that you care about in the community, your alma mater or whatever, that could last forever?
Absolutely.
That $500,000 gets dumped into a growth fund inside of a trust, and you pay out a $10,000 scholarship, $20,000 scholarship, that money would never run out. So that's how we take care of our community. It goes much more beyond us. Because again, if it's just you, that means you got a little bit more extra money than the people that have a spouse and kids, because that's where all the money goes. These kids soak it up out your pocket. But if you're single, again, probably 1 or 2 less coffees a month, not even a week, a month, would get you a $250,000 to $500,000 policy that you could set some kids in the community off very well if something were to happen. Now, pray God nothing happens. So that would be a situation where you do use a cash value policy, because then you get 30 years down the road, you never had to do anything with the policy, but you have an emergency need, all the premiums you just put into it, you get to put back in your pocket.
Absolutely. We actually have 2 guests that actually is part of our audience, and Ms. Kim, I know that you wanted to ask a question. Are you ready to go?
Sure. Yeah. Hi.
Hey, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me today. I wanted to go back to the credit score piece that was touched on a little bit earlier. Can you talk a little bit about some of the methods of building your score and some generic kind of do's and don'ts for using your score as you work through life?
Yep. So there are some very basics. There are 2 types of credit scores: a FICO score and a Vantage score. When you look at Credit Karma and Credit Sesame, they give you a free credit score, but it's the Vantage score, not the FICO score. The problem with that is 99% of lenders don't use the Vantage score. They do use the FICO score. So one rule of thumb, you have to keep, there are 2 biggies in credit: debt to limit ratio and debt to income ratio. Your debt to limit ratio is the outstanding debt you have in regards to the limits on your credit card. So if I have a $1,000 credit card and I charge $300 on it, my debt to limit ratio is 30%. If I charge $700 on it, 70%. The point, it doesn't matter if you pay your credit card bill on time every month. If your debt to limit ratio is over 50%, your credit score still goes down. So 1, if you're applying for credit or wanting to build credit, you have to get your debt to limit ratio under 50%. 30% is better. The other biggie is debt to income ratio. When they take all of your outstanding debt payments minus your rent and mortgage, it cannot exceed 20% of your net take home pay. So if you have a student loan, a car loan, another loan, or whatever, and that's 24% of your take home, and remember, it's what they see when they pull your credit report. They can't see a cell phone bill. They can't see daycare expenses. When they pull your credit report, it's what expenses you have that show up. And if it comes to where your debt to income ratio is over 20%, you have to do one of 2 things. You have to reduce the debt, pay something off, or increase your income. A lot of ways to increase your income. Drive Uber, Lyft, do Instacart, ship. There are all kinds of ways to bring in additional income to offset that debt to limit ratio. So debt to limit ratio under 50%, debt to income under 20, but they want to see 3 open lines of credit paid on time from 6 months to 24 months. You cannot miss a payment. Your payment history makes up 35% of your FICO score. That's those on-time payments. Every month, got to pay on time. Your debt to limit ratio is 30% of your FICO score. Those 2 little things make up 65% of your credit score. So make sure you pay on time, make sure you reduce the debt, and make sure you have 3 open lines of credit at a minimum. And that could be a car, credit card, and a house. It could be 2 credit cards and a car. It could be 3 credit cards. But they want multiple lines of credit. When you mix it up, it's better. Having a car, having a home, having a credit card, etc. But those are the things that they want to see. always look at ways that you can save on your credit cards, looking at the interest rates, annual percentage rates, different deals like that. But making sure you pay on time, making sure that if there's any missed payments, and here's a big one because a lot of us, and this is none of us watching, but some of us may have known someone who messed up their credit. When you do that, let's say you had $1,000 credit card and you never made a payment. Eventually, they will shut the card down. Eventually, they will put it on your credit report as a charged off bad debt. So they're not expecting any money from you. But there's also a spot on your credit report called date of last activity. So what you don't want to do is start feeling guilty and send in $20 because you want to put something on it. Don't do that. You pick up the phone, you call the creditor. You say, hey, how you doing? I owe you $1,000 plus, and you've been messing up my credit for the last 3 years. So I feel like we're even. Here's what I'm gonna do for you today. I'll settle that $1,000 debt in full today for 30 cents on the dollar in exchange for you taking it off my credit report or making it pay it up to date. Do you think they'll take that deal? Oh no. They may come back and say, we can't do 30%, but we could do 40. What you just did was save yourself $600 to $700 in paying off that debt and getting it off your credit report. Now, it will drop your credit score a little bit more, but how do you get it back up? You get the debt off there first, what we just talked about, negotiate with these creditors, wipe off the debt. Then you go and you get another credit card. You can get a secured credit card if you need to. Capital One has a good one. It's a partially secured credit card. You send them $200, they send you a credit card with the limit of like $300, okay? Part of it's secured, part of it's unsecured. I know Citi has a good secured card. Google secured credit cards. Stay away from the ones that have 91% interest rates. Yes, those do exist. There's some desperate people out here. But anyway, you get a couple secured credit cards and you start paying on time. That's gonna bring your credit score back up and very fast. You wiped off the debt, you got a couple of open lines of credit, you start paying on time. That is a way to get your credit score up. Now, she asked a question of how do we manipulate, the word manipulate, and get your credit card up. You guys can also do things like the Experian Boost and add bills and things like that that are not on your credit report to boost your credit. Let me give you guys a trick that the wealthy people use. My daughter's 14. She'll have a 750 credit score by the time she's 18. You know why? Because you can make someone an authorized user on your credit card. So if you have a good credit card that you've never missed a payment on, you can add your child, 13 years old, and all of a sudden that your credit history shows up on their credit report. That's what these wealthy folks do. By the time their kids are 18 to 21, they got 750 and 800 credit scores and they're buying their own homes. That's that purchasing power that we talked about. Yes, sir.
Real quick question, just because you said that, and I know that there's this, I don't even know what you want to call this whole little business, whatever and stuff, where people are adding folks into their credit cards to help boost their credit scores. Is that legal? I mean, from your professional knowledge, is it legal?
It's legal, but is it smart? No.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to kind of touch up on that. Thanks for.
It's like co-signing for somebody.
Right.
You know, don't do that.
I wouldn't, but.
No, I wouldn't either. So again, you got people that know what they're doing saying they wouldn't do that. But if you get married to somebody and maybe their credit needs a boost, that's something you can do for your spouse. I'm doing it for my children. Okay. But remember, any bad credit you do will show up the same as good credit. That's why I specifically said it has to be a credit card that's in perfect condition, never missed a payment, good history. That will show up on your child's credit and start building their credit history.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I kind of think about it as far as like, you know, the risk and stuff like we was talking about with these little schemes and blessing circles and whatnot. You know, I mean, can you get something instant gratification? Sure, but there's a lot of risk, and the risk definitely outweighs the benefits of, you know, taking part in the type of those type of schemes. Mr. Stewart, I think
I got a real quick.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What he just said. I've seen there are people who actually purchase trade lines to add to their credit. Let's say they're trying to buy a house or a car, and they need to use someone else's credit for an extended period of time. they'll pay thousands, not, I don't know if it's thousands, but I know at least hundreds of dollars to use someone's trade line for to show up on their credit as well. And I think that's kind of unique and interesting way to go about it too. Even if you have good credit, you can sell your trade lines. People literally buy your trade lines to let you be authorized. Even though they'll never get a card or anything sent to them, just have their credit show up, your credit show up on their report.
But here's the problem with that. You said they'll never get a card sent to them. If you make them an authorized user, what's that first word? Authorized. That means they can call the credit card company and get another card sent to them. They sure can.
Yeah.
Once you're authorized on that account, you're authorized. That's why my kids will be authorized users, but they won't ever even know it's on there. They don't know anything about it. That's the difference. They don't know. If they know, they can make that phone call to that 800 number and say, yo, I need a new credit card. I lost mine. And they're going to get
and a new PS5 shows up to your house.
Yep.
It'll be a whole different conversation at the dinner table.
Right. So, nope. Another question?
Yeah, Mr. Stewart, is there anything you wanted to say in general, or?
No, I'm good. No, what he said was definitely on point about the FICO scores and whatnot. I had to go and check mine real quick, make sure mine was at the good levels that they've been at. So, but no, that's definitely
authorized user, bro. Make me an authorized user on one of your joints.
No, sir.
Man, I know. Hey, that Chicago lifestyle solid. I mean, you know,
I need a new Trek bicycle, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I could get all the Chicago style pizza in your name.
Hey, no, that's not good for your health, man.
Yeah, I know, but hey, still good though.
No, this is very good information. No, I just me and Marcus, we talk quite a bit, and that life insurance thing is something we always, it never fails. Once a week, it comes across, either his timeline or my timeline about the life insurance and, and savings and just all different type of financial literacy type situations. So, no, this is very good for folks to listen to and take a look at.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, man. I mean, by the end of the day and stuff, I think we all have a responsibility, like I said earlier in the show. I mean, RT, I've known you for about a good 15, probably plus years, and we served on an organization together. Real solid brother himself, and if we don't have these conversations and stuff, man, I mean, our future generations are struggling. I mean, you see what's going on with everything with poverty and just, the losses with the coronavirus pandemic and whatnot. And, one thing that's being lost in the conversation, which is not going to be reported nationally, is that, Black wealth is already projected to go down by 2050, with this pandemic and everything. I mean, it could be realistic and stuff that Black wealth can hit zero 15, 20 years earlier because the decimation of Black businesses, for not getting PPP funding, appropriate business planning and things like that. Like Mr. Creighton has said about the individual who got the loan for the bank, if something happens, what are you going to do? And I think that should be the fundamental question that we should ask ourselves, whether you're married or not, or even if you have children or not. If something happens, what are we going to do? So, I mean, we should enjoy the blessings and experiences that we can on this earth, but we have to keep an eye onto the future. And we also have to continue to, hold these conversations amongst each other on a regular basis, because that's the only way that the information can really be held out. Yes, sir.
And one last point on building wealth. We all know people. We all know people that do well. I mean, the four of us on this call right here, what people need to do is get together with their centers of influence, with their circle. It's happening all over the country. You see the Black families in Georgia that just bought about 100 acres right outside of Atlanta. You see another article on a couple of young brothers got together and they bought their first building with $20,000. That's the kind of stuff we should be doing, pooling our resources. Instead of all trying to do it on our own, we pool our resources together. You can buy apartment complexes, buildings that you can flip, rental properties. There's so many things that we could be doing that we're not doing. That's a way to get to wealth, okay? I know people right now that pull in six-figure profits on rehabbing properties. Six-figure profits. Now, you have to have the capital up front to go out and buy. Some also have good credit, so then you have that purchasing power. But if you put those things together, again, we need to figure out ways to make money no matter what we're doing. And that's
And Marcus, and one quick thing, and it's funny you just said that, pool your money together, not in these damn Ponzi schemes that's going around right now. You know,
we talked.
I leave it alone. But people, the whole you give the what's vesting boards, whatever it's called.
Yeah, we just talked about them.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, and then also too, man. I mean, you know, I know we're not going to get a chance to go too deep into different type of assets, but you know, there's also ability to buy real estate, you know, passively, you know, without actually doing, you know, all the active work. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles there, but you know, like Mr. Creighton has said, you got to be able to have that knowledge out there in the open. And for those who ask me a lot about financial advice or whatever, I just give them the superficial basics because most of the information is available. If you can Google where to find a 50-inch smart TV on a Walmart sale, that doesn't work because I keep trying and it doesn't work. But, you know, you can Google just something like a really brief article here and there, you know, just to understand the basic of finances. I mean, you see almost every day there's at least one article that's repeating the same information over and over and over again. You know, a lot of it's from experience, a lot of it are from professionals. But, you know, it's what Mr. Creighton is saying is very basic. You know, it's changing your spending habits. It's understanding your spending behavior, identifying potential ways to save, identifying goals, and, you know, addressing your credit and then building a future, you know, understanding how to build a future. Because if you don't do it, you're going to continue to go through the day to day. And if something does happen, and, you know, we have individuals that's actually going to the hospital because of Corona. And, you know, that's something that we didn't get a chance to talk about either. But look at those medical bills, you know, making adequate coverage. And one thing that somebody told me one day when I used to travel all the time, I was a member at a bar at an Embassy Suites in Kansas City. And this one guy told me, he said that you should always act in the interest to be self-insured, meaning that you should make, you know, if you got auto insurance, you need to have life insurance. You have life insurance, make sure you have a will, make sure you have, you know, retirement and this and that, you know, say, because if you don't operate a storefront or e-commerce business or whatever the case may be, at the very least, you treat yourself like a business to make sure that you protect yourself from any kind of losses or, you know, whatever. I was laid off. I put this really funny but serious post at the same time about me losing my job a year ago yesterday. And I didn't know what I was going to, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. And it wasn't an arrogant post. It was just a fact. I had to change. I mean, I had already changed my spending behaviors before I got laid off. And even it's been a year, I'm doing well financially as far as the income coming in. But because I didn't know how much money I was going to bring in, I pay myself a stipend every month. Every penny that comes in is accounted for one way or another. And if it's not paying down debt, which I've wiped out all my credit card debt as of a couple of months ago, now I'm killing a mortgage, and you know, so that way I don't pay a lot of interest on a home. And I'm also investing everything else. And so, you know, mind you, 7-8 years ago, I'll be honest, I had almost $70,000 in credit card debt. You know, and I was able to make a new home purchase and be able to pay my debt off and grow my investments and stuff, because like Mr. Creighton has said, I had to come down with a plan. And I reevaluate my plan every year after my birthday in October. And then by the time December 1st rolls around, that's when I put that plan in action. But I'm always looking at my plan, always evaluating. So just to echo what Mr. Creighton is saying is that, you know, and reason why we also bring these walks of life, like how did you get there? You can get there. Don't feel like that you have to make $80,000 a year. You can get there, like I said, by not going to get coffee, you know, or cut down on eating out. If you cut down eating out at work once a week instead of 5 days a week, or you cut it down to 3 times a week, 3 times a week, you could probably save almost $200 that month right there. And that could pay off your debt a little bit faster. Or you can split and say,
that's a car note.
Or car note, right. Or you can invest that, you know, that $200 per month times 12 months at an 8% interest rate will probably, you know, walk out with another $300 something in interest. So the power of compounding interest as well. But I know that we're a little bit over on time, but the concluding thoughts before we go, Marcus, definitely appreciate you being on board. And I just wanted to say, because I know you're a financial advisor and you've been doing this for a long time, and I just want you to say it on the record. Please explain the benefits of a financial advisor, and can you get a financial advisor regardless of your income level, because I think that's a big misnomer that you have to feel like you got to bring in 6 figures a year to get a financial advisor. And that's totally not true.
Well, the answer is, first of all, yes, you can get anybody can get a financial advisor, but the benefits are as professional as anything else. If you do, you want to do, how can I use it? Medical. Would you rather have a trained licensed doctor work on you, or Uncle Willie who read a book? He's a mechanic in the daytime, but at night he's a doctor. Body parts, car parts, it's just parts. No, it's the same thing with financial people. And again, in our industry, there are people who do it on the side. Again, part-time anything is not going to win versus full-time. Okay. Do I want somebody who's a full-time teacher, but at night he's a financial expert? That's not an expert. I want somebody who does this, and this is all that they do. So that is the benefit. It's that we're licensed professionals that see all kinds of scenarios that other people just don't see. And it's those scenarios that we're able to bring this stuff to the table. So that's the benefit. How do you find one? Again, I told you earlier, ask for recommendations. I don't like referrals. I like recommendations. Who would you recommend that I talk to? There are 2 types of planners. There are fee-based planners and there are free planners. So a fee-based planner is probably going to bring a little more to the table, but at the same time, that's not the person you go to if you have $200 that you want to invest, not a fee-based planner. Those are the people that have a complex set of assets. They have homes, investments, and all this kind of stuff. They've done well and they want to bring it all together. That's the kind of person. So find out a lot of the companies that are out here that do have free advice, and just, again, ask around and see what you can come up with. Last thing I want to leave you with, you mentioned medical bills. I need everybody to write down the Credit Card Act of 2009. Thank you, President Obama. But past due medical bills no longer count against your credit score.
Never knew that.
That's
And
a big
you know
one.
what? And you know what, I'm gonna say this because I know I've been seeing a lot of people railing against what Obama's done for Black people. There's one of them. Thank you.
That's a big one. But again, so take a look at the Credit Card Act of 2009. A lot of laws have gone into effect gradually, a little bit over time. You no longer see credit card companies near college campuses. Medical bills don't affect, past due medical bills don't affect your FICO score. So those are some of the things that you want to take a look at the law and learn. Another thing is, how do people learn this stuff? CNBC is probably the best network on television. And I mean, overall, there's nothing on one of these wives shows that affects our lives, nothing. But everything on CNBC affects our lives. It may not be directly, but indirectly. You need to know what the housing market is doing. You need to know what the economy is doing. But that network brings the most diverse people, Black, white, Asian, CEOs of companies, politicians. They bring everybody on just to give you the real. And I mean, I love that network, but you can learn so much. If you want to know why Apple would be a good purchase versus an Amazon, or why is the NASDAQ down today, but the Dow is up, CNBC, y'all. Last thing, everybody has heard the phrase knowledge is power, right? We all grew up, knowledge is power. That's the biggest lie you've ever been told in your life. Knowledge is just knowledge. It's potential power. If you know everything about everything, but you don't use it, how powerful are you? Mm-hmm. You're not. Application of knowledge is what's power. So we got to stop telling these kids knowledge is power. They learn all this stuff and they never use it. No. Application of knowledge is power. If you don't use the stuff that we just covered and the stuff that you learn, it's like you never learned it in the first place. So apply this stuff. Start putting some habits to changing your habits. Start putting down some goals. Figure out a way to implement these ideas. Start checking your credit. Start saving, investing. Start buying real estate. Apply this stuff, or it's like you never learned what we talked about in the first place.
Man, that's deep, man. Because I know I say knowledge is power, and I feel bad for saying it. So, application of knowledge is power.
Knowledge is potential power.
Yeah, but that's definitely true and stuff. Because that is, you look at how many people, especially in the woke culture and whatnot and stuff, they could tell you all these things that happen in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and but I always say, well, what have you learned from it, and what have you applied and stuff? Because the reality is, and I'll keep saying it over and over again, We're not going to get the Black Wall Street concept that was very unique for its time and its moment, but demographics and a lot of other variables have happened. We're not going to have another Black Wall Street of that fashion physically, but that doesn't mean that collectively, like you were saying with the life insurance initiative, that we cannot do things collectively to help expand opportunities for other people of color, for us today and even 50, 60 years from now. Butler, do you have any closing comments?
Yeah, closing comments. Definitely enjoyed the conversation. What'd you say?
I know you're worried about Miami right now.
Yeah, I actually got my phone to work. I've been trying to keep it out my side. But definitely enjoyed the conversation, even being in the business. Everything you hit on was definitely on point, Marcus. It's a conversation that we got to keep having over and over again. I tell people all the time, two things you definitely need to put a focus on is the food you eat and your money. At that basic, you need to be so meticulous about what you put in your body, because there are so many different additives and things like that. Also be meticulous about what you spend your money on, where your money is invested, how it moves, and your study of money. Probably the two most important things you'll ever come across, because anybody who's meticulous at something and who's intentionally trying to be great, you'll always see, take for example, somebody that works out 7 days a week, everything they put in their body is organic A+, you will see a difference in their body. Anybody who studies money, studies investments, multiple streams of income, how to save, you will see a difference in their finances. It's all about just being intentional and just believing that it's possible. So many people get boiled down with all these images we see. You can have it now, you can have it now. We're just inundated with these commercials and make poor financial decisions. It's just important to always just be in a position where you're studying, you're learning. The excuse of I don't know is out the window now with the internet, different classes, different websites. You can always find out something about anything. It's just up to you to make a decision to, like you said, implement the knowledge. I heard that first at Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. I forgot what book it was where he was talking about applied knowledge and whatnot. But definitely take everything you've learned from Marcus and this podcast and just definitely apply it to your own financial situation. We just wish you the best of luck, best of success in building your financial house.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on the show again, man, in the future. I know we probably got a couple more episodes left of the season. We're going to shut it down for the holidays. But yeah, we definitely love to get you back on board, man. There's so much to talk about it. I know that I talked to you before and stuff about maybe having like a 4 or 6 part series and maybe just getting a different set of professionals, people with your expertise on board so we can start educating because like I said, we have that obligation to do so. Thank you once again, brother, man. I definitely appreciate you, man. I've met Marcus through a mutual friend, and we were in a couple of Facebook groups and stuff. Funny dude. This man, hey, he will hot you.
No, tell it like it is, bro. I'm ignorant.
Hey, yeah, you're a straight shooter, man. That's a fact.
I'm ignorant. That's all.
Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Yeah. Hey, don't let the background experience and stuff fool you and stuff. He can hot you pretty good and stuff. I seen some ones and stuff. I was like, man, you probably need to man down. I mean, so yeah, it's funny though. But you know what though? That shows the uniqueness of our culture and stuff because we can still go back and still be who we are and still be accomplished and stuff. So I mean, I know Marcus has seen me and my jokes and everything like that. And for people who know me personally, I'm a fool. I'm a character. But, this is a passion of mine because I wanted to find the best avenue to try to reach as many people as possible. And as this podcast continues to grow and we put it on YouTube and stuff like that, we can actually say, hey, this is what we're talking about, so we are able to look back at it. So once again, thank you again, Mr. Creighton. And that's going to conclude our show. Next week, we will have Karma Brown. She was a guest at our prior podcast. She's going to talk about a book that she just published about exhilarating your life and talking about her as a business professional and a therapist before we close out the Thanksgiving break. And, Miami looks like they're about to hold on, Butler. So, all is well. But thank you once again for listening to the podcast. You can follow us on YouTube on the Dr. Terrence Duncan channel, where you have all the other podcast recordings, the videos up there. It's on Spotify by searching Mahogany Thoughts or my name, Dr. Terrence Duncan. Or you can actually go to the website, www.drtduncan.com/podcast. You'll see every podcast from the first one to the last one. And just to conclude, the key points that I wrote down for Mr. Creighton's awesome presentation, we talked about how to save. We talked about credit scores. We talked about informative investing. Remember, these are not legal. Our legal disclosure is it's just informational. This is not investing advice. We talked about get rich quick schemes, legal. We talked about the legal ramifications of it, despite what your friends and your homies say. FICO scores. Starting off with mutual funds, how important it is, and the benefits having either a fee-based or a paid financial advisor. So once again, thank you, everybody. God bless you. Y'all stay safe. Y'all be cool.
Peace.